How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
That is a hammering and a half by the Mumbai Indians to end what was building as quite a favourable streak for CSK against them. But we've seen a serious gulf between the two sides, if that is fair to say. By a 9-wicket win, with plenty of time to spare, Rohit 76 of 45, Surya 68 of 30, they made light work of a chase of 177. That's 3 wins on the trot for Hardik Pandya's side. They look like serious business now. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Aaron Finch, Cheteshwar Pujara, Matt Roller all called it. Mumbai win, you called it, it'll be the easiest. But are we still to some degree amazed by how easy it looked for MI versus how perhaps, what's the right term?
Toothless?
No, toothless, you could do better.
It was a grind, wasn't it?
Grind,
It was a real grind to get to 170 for Chennai. They had no flow in their innings. They were reluctant to take the attack back to Mumbai at any stage throughout the innings outside the power play, and they were always well short.
Puji, that looked like two different teams playing two different eras of 2020 cricket almost.
It did, and as we were talking that the first innings total wasn't good enough. They should have gone hard in the middle overs, which they didn't. And the result shows the way they have lost. They were never in the game in the second innings. It didn't look like they had any chance of winning that match. And that's why I thought that they should have batted better in the first innings.
Have they at least gone through the whole middle overs spell, Matt, so you can properly account for how CSK's middle overs were versus how MI's? Because they finished this game, I think, even before the middle overs are supposed to end.
Before that block of 10 was finished, yeah. It was, I think, particularly that phase coming out of the power play for CSK in the first innings. They did accelerate towards the back end of that middle phase, but, you know, Jadeja was 19 off 19. And having been promoted to number 4, presumably to try and get more out of him, for him to have a bigger impact on the game, it's not really happened, has it?
We will talk about Rohit and Suryakumar Yadav because they looked awesome. But story here, and I empathise with the CSK fans who thought things might turn around after the last win, and they did chase. But when they're batting first, this is one of the most experienced players we're talking about, Puji and Ravindra Jadeja. Finch, you weigh in on this as well. And now we look back at that innings, and it looks like an innings that is so far out of time.
Yeah, it looked like an innings that was afraid to make a mistake. I guess when you've got Dhoni behind, you don't want to expose him too early. So then he went into conservation of his wicket mode. And T20 cricket, we've seen that those days are gone. The rebuild now is 1 over. It's not 4, 5, 6 overs where you just knock it around and be prepared to go a run a ball for that period of time. It just doesn't add up in this day and age.
They played a team to give them insurance. Vijay Shankar was still there. Overton is picked ahead of other overseas options that they could go for, which means Jadeja at 4 is there to get more out of him as a batter. But is he reluctant to play a more aggressive T20 style of batting?
I don't know what's the message, because I am quite confused with the way he has been batting. Either he hasn't been told that he has to go hard. He should be clearly told that the strike rate which is expected out of him it should be 140 plus all the time. He is capable enough of doing that. Why is he not doing that? I don't know. I don't know what's the reason and what's the message he has been sent across with. But there needs to be a clear message which should be told to him that he needs to bat with a strike rate of 140 plus all the time. Whether he bats at number 4, when he comes into bat at number 6 or 7, it doesn't matter.
But he's finished with a 150 strike rate. Now, would he consider that job well done?
In a situation like this, I don't think so, because you have to start with a strike rate of 140 plus. That's what I mean to say. Not start at a strike rate of 100 or 120 and then end up at 150. Because if he had started with a strike rate of 120 or 130, then eventually his strike rate would have been 180.
Yeah. So, sorry to cut you off. I think the frustrating part would be there was no attempt to be aggressive. So it was all just knocking around and being really comfortable playing a run of a ball. At times, I can understand if he's looking to be really aggressive and you miss-hit a few and you pick out the fielder a few times, you understand. You have days when you're looking and you go, oh, he's 8 off 10 or 8 off 12, and you just don't quite get the flow. But it's when it's just so conservative that alarm bells start ringing for me.
Yeah. Did you have anything on just intent or attack percentage, or is it only Jadeja, or was it Dubey and Jadeja? Just from my memory of it, Dubey, who's still searching for his best form, tried to go more often, but didn't succeed until perhaps 1 or 2 release overs of Ashwini. But Jadeja was very much within himself.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think particularly so when you consider that the Wankhede is a chasing ground and always has been really in IPL. I think we didn't see a huge amount of dew tonight. I think there was a little bit in the run chase, but it's always been a venue where teams have loved chasing runs. I think that's played out this season. I mean, even when MI fell just short against RCB, they got 200 plus in that run chase, and then they've comfortably beaten CSK, KKR, and now Hyderabad as well. So yeah, I feel like you have to aim above par. You can't just get what you think is going to be a competitive total. You have to aim for a winning total. And a winning total at the Wankhede when you're playing against a strong MI batting lineup that's coming into form is going to be a lot higher than 176. And it didn't really feel like at any point they were aiming for that 220 score. They were aiming for maybe 180 if everything came together.
I think the RCB game was a good example. Who played on this surface, at this ground, batting first. Completely different tempo, wasn't it? Patidar, even Padikkal, they understood the middle overs game at the Wankhede.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big difference there was, again, you didn't see a big individual contribution in that game. I think the top score was 50 odd.
67 Kohli, 64 Patidar, but not high strike rate.
Yeah, not a single huge score from a batter, not like a 100 plus. When it's a total of 220, there were lots of contributions all the way through the order. Yep. Whereas today it felt like there was so much dependence. There is some mitigation. They've lost their captain, who was a big retention and one of their best batters. And the top order's been out of form, so it is heaping pressure a bit more on that middle order. But yeah, it did feel like an outdated template tonight.
When we discuss it, and I'm fully aware that the fortunes of a team are not dependent entirely on one man or one innings. But that notwithstanding, this is one of the most experienced players, high price retention, promoted at 4. I think there are enough observations on whether Jadeja's got the capability as a batter to bat at 4. If you compare him to the 4s around the IPL, you're talking Rajat Patidar, Surya stroke Tilak Verma, some big hitting guys.
Yeah, Rutherford's done pretty well this
Rutherford
year.
For GT, even for Delhi, KL Rahul's coming in there. So is Jadeja capable of that batting? You know him the longest. Does he choose not to play that way, or are there limitations to the batter in this format?
No, I think he's capable enough. I wouldn't doubt his batting, but it's just the approach, the way he has been approaching. He's more than capable of what he has done today, and that's why I always keep asking the question that why is he not batting the way he can? Because the way he batted in the last 5 overs or last, say, couple of overs, he could have done that when he walked in. I'm not saying from ball 1 you can take 5 or 6 balls, but when you're taking 10 to 15 balls, that's when things start to change, and that becomes like 4 or 5 overs between the two batters.
Oh yeah, it was run a ball 19, and if it wasn't for Trent Bolt's final over, that final number also wouldn't look as impressive. You've even played with Ravindra Jadeja, haven't you? I mean, I wonder if it's age or if his power hitting has dipped, or has he just always been this player but playing at a lower, in a stronger batting lineup, perhaps, which he isn't now.
Yeah, I guess, like you said, when you name the guys around the competition at number 4, there's some guys who have got serious power, who can take a game away from you so quickly. So I just think it may be a tactical error from CSK, but also Jadu's never been one to get off to a flyer anyway. He's been somebody who takes a little bit of time and then relies on his skill to get him out of trouble as the innings goes on, the more balls that he faces. So I guess it's a conversation for the team. What style of cricket do they want to play? Do they want to be a team that tries to scrape to a competitive total, or are they prepared to put it all on the line and say, you know what, if we get bowled out for 120, aiming too high, in a season when things haven't gone well for us, are we prepared to wear that as a win because we're changing the mentality of the way that we play? I mean, you compare venues, you go to Chepauk and you get 170 and you go, we're in with a big chance with 3 world-class spinners. But at Mumbai, at Wankhede, it's not enough.
I mean, if I was a CSK fan today, I'd be far more delighted looking at Ayush Matre's innings than any other innings. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, it is. And the way he batted, the way he started his innings, that's the way that should be the template for all the batters. Because I don't mind CSK having the approach of what SRH does. Just go out there and play the attacking cricket for entire 20 overs. And in that process, even if you get bowled out for, like Finch you were saying, even if you get bowled out for 120, you just accept it. But you just try and change that mentality of just going hard throughout those 20 overs.
Yeah, Dubey at 4 seems the better way to go even now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And, I think particularly when you consider that he managed to well, that his arrival delayed the spinners, and Jadeja's general weakness, I would say, in T20, he's got a much better record against seam than spin in T20. So it looked like a pairing that could, on paper, have worked okay, but it was just disappointing to see that lack of intent.
Shame that, because this is more than just a game they've lost. This effectively now puts them in must-win territory, which we know in this IPL is even harder than previous editions with how competitive it is. So effectively, this is where CSK can say, unless something extraordinary happens with other results, they're not really competing for the playoffs. All they can get to now is 14, isn't it? And that may not be enough as well. You need lots of other results and net run rate to go your way. Let's just give Mumbai the credit, though, because they've played phenomenal second innings with the bat. Rohit Sharma's big talking point, and we spoke of him before this game. And did you notice the things that you were saying? You know, that's what, if I see him play shots accessing the offside, and that's when I know he's back in form. Did you see that today?
I did see that, and it just shows that he's prepared to go both sides of the wicket. He's reacting to the ball. He's not just concentrating on, or he's not just thinking one way, right, I want to hit a six, I'm going to slog it leg side, no matter where it's bowled. So today he played beautifully. We know he's not a big mover of his feet, but his weight transfer was good. Anytime he's driving through the offside, that's when you know that Rohit's in really good nick.
What stood out for you?
For me, he didn't take the strike.
Yeah.
And that's letting your ego go, because he didn't face the first ball. He knows that he hasn't started well against left-arm seamers. And there are times where, as a player, you have a big ego. I mean, as a player, you might think that I don't mind getting out, but I'll still try and take him on. But he didn't do that. He was very clever. He was at the non-striker's end. But once he gets going, I think no one can stop him. It was just about for him to get through the first 15, 20 balls. And even within those balls, he played his shots, which are his strengths. And the way he was timing the ball, and that particular venue always suits him. The ball came on nicely. And some of the shots were, it was a delight to watch.
Anything that stands out on the innings? The building of it?
Well, I was going to talk about Surya as well.
Go on.
I just wanted to, his record at the Wankhede the last 3 years is unbelievable. I think he's averaging 60 and striking at 190 plus at Wankhede in the IPL in the last 3 seasons, and he's just too good there. I think we've seen him a couple of times this year. I think that Delhi game we were a bit critical and saying he was looking a little too leg side, but I think with the dimensions of Wankhede, especially with a really short square boundary tonight, one side, he was reaching balls from a foot outside off stump and sweeping them over square leg, absolutely no problem.
I remember before the IPL, there were some articles or some buzz on social media about, is Surya out of form? He had acquired England bilateral series, and this is where he's the captain. Of course, there's a home World Cup coming up, but in that innings, he gets into this beast mode where once he starts hitting boundaries, it's like just boundaries. Awesome boundaries.
And also the way he bats against spinners, he puts a lot of pressure on the spinners. As a spinner, you can't find the right length to bowl at him, because he goes over short fine leg and between the deep square leg. He goes between deep square leg and deep mid wicket. He also goes between long on and deep mid wicket. So that's the entire region on the leg side where you don't know where to block him.
And you get a bit wide and he'll lift you up and over cover.
Yeah.
He just plays the field. So he's got so much skill and so many shot options. Wherever you have a fielder up, he'll just try and hit the ball there. And that's easier said than done. If you got somebody in the nets and said, just throw 10 balls at me and I'm going to try and hit them in different spots, it's hard to do. And he does it at will, especially at Wankhede, where there's a bit of pace on the ball. He can trust the bounce. He can get up and under and use the pace over the short fine. It's a headache for bowlers bowling doing
Ahmed
that.
is one of the form spinners of the tournament for what it's worth. Player of the match in the last fixture these two teams played. I'm just having a lot of respect for Suyash Sharma today, who kept him quiet in that RCB game by just dragging him further and further outside off. I wonder if now that was just Surya looking for his best form, and now we've seen it. Is this now ominous for MI's chances, the form of Surya and Rohit?
Well, they're the second half of the competition champions, aren't they? Generally start the tournament slow and come home like a steam train. And I don't expect anything different from this side now. They're a quality team. They've got great experience. They've got world-class players with bat and ball. Look out.
Good luck. anything MS Dhoni could have done in the second innings tactically? The use of Patirana again, we waited a long time. When did he come on?
I think 14th over. So yeah, he came on with 50 needed off 42 balls. So
and we know it's not Dhoni listening to analysts because he doesn't do that. So this is Dhoni's gut. And the choice of Ashwin, who bowled 4 quiet overs to his credit, but Kamboj perhaps? No?
Not really. I mean, they didn't have enough runs on the board, and Ashwin, he bowled well. The only change, I mean, we were discussing in the lounge that Patirana could have bowled in the power play, just 1 over instead of Overton, just try him out, because MS, he has never tried Patirana in the power play, and that is something...
Never?
Never, correct. Never in IPL.
Yeah.
0 power play overs.
Yeah, so
wow.
That is something which
I didn't know that. That's outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's got such an unusual action, particularly against a new batter. That can buy you an over.
Yeah.
A batter just trying to line you up. There might be a bit of movement. Yeah, worth a try moving forward, I'd say.
Okay, in all this, yes, Matt, please.
Well, I was just going to say I was a little bit surprised that they put Ashwin in as the impact sub, just because of the fact that heading into that last game, or after that last game against Lucknow, they were explaining why they left him out and said, well, we've had to bowl them in the power play. We needed some more cover in the power play because we've only had Khalil up top. So that they used Kamboj in that role in the last game, had a bit of success, and then today kind of, I don't know, I don't think they're using Jamie Overton in the way that any other team in the world has used him, where they're hardly using his batting and they're using him as a power play bowler, which, you know, in the Big Bash you'll have seen him, he's a middle and death bowler and a finisher with the bat, same back home in the 100, same with England.
Has he told them that?
That's a good question. Maybe they just don't know who he is.
Yeah, I'm seriously thinking, maybe there's not.
Maybe they think he's his twin.
He's Craig, yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, and again, it's not like the analyst has got a big role. Everyone at CSK says, buck stops at MS or the captain, and Gaikwad's gone. Take your questions and comments very quickly before we wrap things up. Ujjwal, is Bumrah the greatest T20 bowler to have ever existed? Look at MI's turnaround after he has joined.
He's in the conversation. Throw him in there with Malinga. They're the two. Yeah. They're the two best I've seen.
It's amazing that this team's star-studded with batters, some of India's best batters, most experienced players. But without Bumrah, it's different, and with Bumrah,
well, it's just a psychological battle as well. Sure. Teams have to go harder against other bowlers, and that players come into their own in that situation because they know that Bumrah is so hard to get away. When he's not in the side, India's the same. You can afford to sit on a couple of overs of Jadeja, for example, or Kuldeep through the middle overs because you know you're going to get some easier overs towards the back end. But when he's in the side, you have to be spot on.
Yeah. See, could have won the Champions Trophy, Australia, without Bumrah, but you let it go, your boys.
I wasn't playing.
I know, I'm just saying, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was such a good game from Steve Smith, though. Anyway, not getting carried away. Let's take some more questions, shall we? Kartikeya says, look like both teams batted on a different pitch. Sricharan, is the message not clear from top down for CSK's batting, I'm guessing, or are they limited by their own capabilities? I think Puji's touched upon that. Sanket, did CSK make a mistake by not getting Noor or Patirana earlier? Patirana, we've spoken. Noor, could have got him in any time earlier just to try and see if we can make a game out of this. 10th over was his first game, first over.
Do you think it would have made any difference? I don't think so.
You try.
On that pitch, yeah, you could have tried.
But you can't try everyone.
Yeah.
They're trying Overton.
True.
Anyway, right. Cristiano Ronaldo always shows up at our shows. Sleeping giant has woken. Beware other teams. Benching Anshul Kamboj was a mistake. Should Noor have bowled earlier. CSK are a decade behind, says Kolatumani, at every stage. They are a 175 side at best. Now, Ramanathan has actually brought up an interesting one on Raidu's points yesterday. Unfortunately, Ambati is not with us today. How I wish he was, but we'll try and get him on the right day. Raidu questioned what RR have gained from the youngsters they picked in the auction. Yes, he did that yesterday, and it was a very fair opinion. But what exactly did CSK achieve by banking on such an old members club? This is a funny one, because they have had old teams or old players and aging teams and won the damn tournament in the past. Why is it not working this time?
Well, everyone is getting older. That's reality. I mean, inevitably though, when you've had success in a certain way, you go back to what you know. So you go to a tried and tested method of experience wins a lot of T20 tournaments. It can't be all youngsters going in there who have got limited T20 experience. You still need the old heads in there to complement that and get the best out of the youngsters. But every year, I mean, the game gets harder and harder. The youngsters coming through are putting so much pressure on the previous generation of players because they're so skilled, talented.
I can't help but think also the league's getting tougher, isn't it?
It is, and I also feel that you need to find the right balance. You can't be stuck with one idea. You can't just think that we are just going to go with the experience, or you are just going to go with the young players. If you have the right balance, the teams which are doing well, they have the right balance of youngsters and having enough experience in the team as well.
So it's a big risk to take in a mega auction, to go with that philosophy of such an experienced, older type group.
Yeah. I mean, we've touched upon their auction strategy, which was unique in the sense that they got most of the players they bid for. The only one they didn't was, I think, Deepak Chahar, but they got everyone else they bid for. So now it goes to a question of thinking. Did you need 10 crores on Ashwin and maybe more than 10, was it?
I think it was 975.
975, another 10 on Noor when you had Jadeja and whatever. Noor's been great, but it's not like they went with the big sort of hitting options available.
I think some of the players they sort of tried to get in as the classic CSK project players just haven't worked at all as well in Chapati and Huda. Maybe they just identified them wrong. Maybe the form's not been there. I don't know exactly what the reasons are why they've managed to sort of polish other gems and it's worked and it hasn't with those two. Or
SBM makes a very interesting point. I like it. He says today was another good example of why you should look to hit sixes rather than fours. There were a lot of good shots by CSK batters in the power play that was stopped by some good fielding. So this became a test of six hitting prowess, which CSK, by their own comments from Stephen Fleming and MS Dhoni previously this season, have said, well, that's not our strength.
Yeah, and we've seen a real explosion the last 2 years. I think it's the number of balls per six in the power play in the IPL was halved because teams are no longer looking to just chip it over the infield or hit the gap. They're looking to hit sixes. It's the best time to do that. And CSK are going about it a different way. What I would say to that as well is that I think it's interesting when we talk about the batting templates. I think arguably the best team this season in the IPL have been GT, who have almost got the evolved version of the old CSK template, where they are still relying very much on the top three.
Yeah.
But it's a slightly more dynamic, slightly more modern top three who, while they can bat a lot of the innings, can also score 150, 160 throughout with playing pretty low-risk options.
Good point. Good point.
Varun is saying, hi Matt, what's the ideal position for Jamie Overton?
Not the one they're using him in.
Give them more than that. Where should you bat them? Be the analyst for CSK for us for a minute.
It's a tricky one, I think, because Overton, similarly to someone like Dhoni, is better against pace than spin. You probably want him coming in at a similar time you want Dhoni coming in, but for obvious reasons, you're probably going to back the guy who's done it for every season of the IPL over the.
He can't bat more than a certain amount of overs. So.
Yeah, so you could put him in just before.
Overton 5.
Yeah, or maybe Jadeja 5, Overton 6. But
can you send Overton at number 4 and then just try and give him the free hand? Try and accelerate and then
I think that the thing they could do, given that they're struggling for power play bowling at the moment, is bring Sam Curran back in, who actually can do a bit of a job at number 4. He's done that in some franchise cricket before.
And put him at the top with the bat.
In place of Rachin now.
Brevis. What about Brevis?
What about young devil Brevis? Should he be the solution?
And also, they're heading to the point, we said that it's pretty much going to be must-win from now, so they can try some stuff out, think about next year already.
Lawrence John is saying, bring 5 Ayush Matres in. You can look for them. All right, that is pretty much the sentiment. You know, there are a lot of you asking, and rightly so, about who should be released into the auction for the next year, but we're only at the halfway point. I promise we'll discuss it once the season is closer to an end. I can understand the emotions of the fans right now, but we have plenty of time. We still have another 6-7 CSK games to do. So don't...
Jeez, they're looking for heads to roll early.
It's a passionate fan following, that we know, and they're not used to being this... It's one thing to not win or be outside the top 4, but they've perhaps never looked so far away from the league as they are today. So I can see why the CSK fans are hurting. Right, what else do we have? MS Dhoni has spoken, and it seems like these are pretty strong words by the iconic CSK captain. MS says, we need to realize we are successful because we play good cricket, but we need not get too emotional. We need to see if we are playing the right form of cricket, trying to put the right amount of runs. A few more catches will help. We are trying to plug the holes, take one game at a time, look at the combinations for next season if we don't qualify.
So that's back to what we were talking about before, the mindset going into batting first in particular, where is it high enough risk? And again, it comes back to when you're not scoring quickly and you're still losing wickets, that's a really tough place to be for a team. It's one thing if you're high risk, high reward, but when you're medium risk, no reward, it's troubling.
Yeah, I think that's the term. It was literally medium risk and little reward. Yeah. Anything on MS's comments? I think he's already sort of talking about next year and talking about, I think there is somewhere in between the lines, if we have to read. He's not happy with how that first innings was paced.
Yeah, and even when he walked into bat, it looked like his body language was slightly different. And even when he got out, he was, it was. Yeah, it was. Because the things didn't went well before.
Yeah, there was an annoyed look on his face, if I can read.
And as a captain, if you fail trying to play a certain way, that's okay. You can accept that as a captain, as a coach, I'm sure. You say, right, I understand what you were trying to do. You're trying to put enough pressure back on the opposition. But when you're not trying to put pressure back on them and you're playing a conservative game, that's when you get really frustrated because you know that you've left a lot of runs left a lot of runs out there. And yeah, that'd be frustrating for Stephen Fleming and MS Dhoni at the moment.
All right, I can tell you now that it doesn't get any easier for the Super Kings, but they will at least get to go home. That's not necessarily been a good thing this year. 3 losses out of 4 at the Chepauk. We've never had this conversation in the history of the IPL. CSK losing more than winning at the Chepauk. But they play Sunrisers on Friday, so they have a few days to think about
that. Is a contrast of styles right there.
And
Sunrisers versus...
That is a favourable record that CSK enjoy against the Sunrisers, for what it's worth. And they also then play Punjab Kings there, who again play a very different brand of cricket. As far as MI go, they go to Hyderabad themselves, actually. So MI will face the Sunrisers on Wednesday. So quick turnaround for Pat Cummins' side. And they still have 3 home games after that. Looking good. Mumbai, rapid fire review. Gentlemen, you know how this is done. Let's get cracking. Finchy, Chennai's batting or their bowling, what let them down more today?
Well, both did, but they were on a hiding to nothing with the ball. Their batting let them down. Not enough runs, not enough pressure applied. They need a good hard look at their template.
Rohit and Sky back in form, Puji. Is Mumbai's second half charge well and truly underway?
It is. And it's not just this game, but even if you look at last couple of games, the way they have played, the way most of their guys have performed, I think they are back on track.
Matt, Hardik's use of his bowlers, shuffling them around, how big a part did it play in the first innings score?
I think a big part. I think it did help put CSK under pressure, but I think Finch is right that the lack of intent was a bigger issue.
All right, let's take all of you on this. 19 runs of 19 to start with for Jadeja. Did that innings cost CSK the game?
It didn't cost them the game. They would have got mowed down, just not quite as quick. But it just needed to be high tempo.
Puji?
I think in a way it did, but I still felt that the way the strategy or the thought process was at that stage costed them the game.
Yeah, I think the partnership as a whole, they didn't put MI under anywhere near enough pressure through that phase.
All right, Puji, in a losing cause, but rate that innings from Ayush Matre.
It was a great innings. I think he showed a lot of character there. The way he started, he was fearless, and he has a lot of potential going ahead.
Okay, and finally, all of you can jump into this. While they are not out in the race for the playoffs mathematically, is that effectively the end of Chennai's chances of making the top 4?
I think so. I think RCB last year, when they had that run, you could see the signs by this stage. I don't see any signs with CSK.
Yeah, I think it'll be very hard. Now, after today's game, I don't think they have a chance of qualifying.
Put a line through them.
All right. Thank you very much. Aaron Finch, Cheteshwar Pujara, Matt Roller. Pleasure. Finchy, lovely start. Cracking start. See you in tomorrow again.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Good man. Puji will as well. So you're back as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Matt is back. He's going to go on a little trip to Delhi soon. So whatever love you have for Matt Roller, send it our way over the next 2 days before he's travelling up north. Points table. Won't make for pretty reading if you're a CSK fan. Rock bottom. Hit on the net run rate with that kind of win, which also is a boost for MI as they go to 8 points. They're still not in the top 4, but they've got to play a lot of those teams above them, many of them at home, and we could very well see Mumbai Indians pick up the pace like they have this evening. Gujarat play KKR tomorrow. That's a big one, especially for the Knight Riders. Look forward to your company for that then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Timeout. Thank you very much.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.